Welcome to the series Build a ServiceNow app in one day. In this first video, we are going to focus only on the theoretical part, and this is extremely important. Today, a lot of people jump straight into building without really understanding the fundamentals of the platform. And when the fundamentals are weak, the solution usually becomes hard to maintain, hard to scale, and easy to break. So before we touch tables, ACLs, UIs, or flows, we need to align on how ServiceNow works and how you should think when building an application. This foundation is what will allow you to build faster, cleaner, and with confidence in the next videos. Once that's clear, we'll move into hands-on part and build the app. So this is the agenda for this episode. We start with ServiceNow Platform Foundations, then move into App Engine and App Engine Studio. Next, we'll cover the application architecture and scope, followed by data, logic, and secure fundamentals. Finally, we'll wrap up with user experience and automation to show how users interact with platform and how process run. This will prepare us for the hands-on work in the next episodes. To start this course, we are going to use a PDI, which is a free ServiceNow instance. But before we do that, we need to understand what an instance actually is. A ServiceNow instance is your own dedicated environment on the ServiceNow platform. When you access ServiceNow, you are always work inside one specific instance. Each instance is independent, not shared with other customers, and fully configurable. Your data, applications, and configurations exist all inside that instance. In real companies, it is common to have multiple instances, like development, test, and production. Each one used for a different purpose. The PDI, or Personal Developer Instance, is a free development instance provided by ServiceNow. It works just like a real instance and it is perfect for learning in practicing. That's the instance we will use during this course. Before start, why do no-code, low-code solutions matter? No-code and low-code solutions matter because they help organizations move faster. They simplify digital transformation, increase IT delivery speed, and enable citizen development beyond traditional IT teams. The key idea is collaboration. Developers with different skills levels work together on the same application in the same environment. Citizen developers can start with basic and immediate needs, and pro code developers can then extend the solution with more advanced functionality. So, during this course, we use the App Engine. But what is the App Engine? It is a low-code platform that enables both developers and non-developers to quickly build applications they need to support their business with less complexity, cost, and risk, right? But before start to building an application, we need to analyze if ServiceNow is a good fit for your application, right? So ServiceNow is a great fit when your application is process driven and based on structured data. If your solutions relies on forms, workflows, and reporting, ServiceNow usually works very well. On the other hand, if your application deals mainly with unstructured data, complex graphic engines, or has no clear process flow, ServiceNow may not be the right choice. The key is understanding whether your problem is process oriented or not. Inside the App Engine, we work with App Engine Studio. So, what is App Engine Studio? It's a guided and visual low code and no code development environment in ServiceNow. Its main goal is to enable the rapid creation of web applications focused on information storage, process automation, and business problem resolution, including simple adjustments. With App Engine Studio, teams can deliver experience that empower anyone to build applications that meet immediate organizational needs. Applications and their components can be created entirely from scratch, or developers can start from pre-built template and adapt it into their specific use case. This approach reduces complexity, cost, and risk while allowing faster and more controlled application delivery. So this slide highlights the key benefits of App Engine Studio. First, pre-built templates allow you to start from an existing application structure instead of building everything from scratch, helping you move faster and standardize solution. Citizen developers are business users who can build application using guided tools without needing deep technical skills. App Engine Studio supports them throughout the development process. For pro code developers, the platform increases productivity by automating repetitive tasks, allowing them to focus on more complex and high value development. And finally, App Engine Studio enables fast process automation, combining workflows, integrations, and analytics in a single environment. Together, these capabilities help teams build applications faster with less complexity and risk. So, even though applications can vary in complexity, the development process in App Engine Studio is always the same. Both citizen developers and IT developers follow a structured life cycle: development, testing, and then production. Is this course you use a PDI, which is a single development instance. It is perfect. It is perfect for learning, but in real companies, this setup is different. Organizations usually have multiple instances, such as development, test, and production, to ensure changes are tested safely before going live. And no matter the complexity of an application, one rule always applies. You should never develop directly in production. So App Engine Studio comes with several built-in tools that cover the full application lifecycle. Table Builder is used to create and manage data structures. Flow Designer handles process automation, business logic. UI Builder is used to design modern user interfaces and experiences. And Catalog Builder allows you to quickly create catalog and request experiences. Together, these tools let you design data, build interfaces, automate process, and expose everything to users, all within a single guided environment. So let's talk about scoped application philosophy. This slide represents the core philosophy behind scoped application in ServiceNow. Every application should be independent, uninstallable, and safe to deploy without breaking the platform or other applications, right? So dependencies must be clearly defined, and the application should only access what it truly needs, following the principle of least privilege. This approach protects the platform, reduces risk during upgrades, and makes application easier to maintain and evolve over time. So, in this philosophy, defining application scope is a critical architectural decision. The general rule is simple: always use scoped applications whenever possible. Scoped apps reduce complexity, isolate chains, and make your solution safer and easier to maintain. Scoped applications are ideal for custom business app integrations, utilities, and any functionality that should not impact the entire platform. In other words, if your solution is specific to one application, it should live inside its own scope. There are exceptions. Sometimes you need to work in global, especially when modifying existing global applications or when required features are not available in the scope of the apps. But those cases should be treated as exceptions, not the default. Correct scope definition is one of the key foundations of scalable and appropriate safe ServiceNow development. So, when working with scoped applications, ServiceNow clearly warns you when a record is outside the current application scope. This is important because it helps prevent accidentally adding files or configurations that do not belong to your application. It also protects other applications and even the platform itself from unintended changes, right? So, if needed, you can temporarily switch scopes using the provide link or select the application name to change the active scope. This visibility helps keep applications isolated, controlled, and easier to maintain. So, let's move to an important topic: choosing the right tool to build an application serves now. One common mistake is thinking that there is only one way to build apps on the platform. In reality, ServiceNow offers multiple tools, each designed for a different level of complexity and skill set. For simple use cases like a basic request form, business users can rely on Creator Studio, which is guided and template driven. When you need a custom application with data tables, automation, and security, but you still want a visual low code approach, App Engine Studio is the right choice. This is where citizen developers usually work, right? And for more advanced scenarios, such as complex integrations, scripted logic, and deep platform customization, ServiceNow Studio is used by pro developers. The key idea is simple. ServiceNow gives you different tools so you can choose the right level of power and complexity for the problem you're solving. So before build anything in ServiceNow, you need to design your application. This means thinking beyond tools and start with structure. First, define business logic. What needs to happen, how the process flows, who is involved, and what goes in and out of the system, right? Then think about the user interface. Who are the users and how will they interact with the application? On desktop, tablet, or mobile? And finally, design the data model. Define which tables you need, how data is organized, and how records relate to each other. When these three areas are clear, building the application becomes much faster and much safer. So let's talk about the layers of an application. Every ServiceNow application is built use the same core layers, right? First, you have the data layer, which defines how information is stored using tables and fields. Then comes the experience layer, which is the user interface, what users see and interact with. Behind the scenes, you have logic and automation, where business rules, flows, and notifications run. And finally, security, which controls who can see or modify data. Even though this is the recommended structure, ServiceNow is flexible, right? You don't have to build everything in this exact order. What matters is understanding how these layers work together. So it's time to decide about options table creation. When designing your application, one of the first technical decisions is how you create your tables, right? In App Engine Studio, there are three main options, and each one serves a different purpose. You can upload the spreadsheet when you already have structured data defined and want to create a table quickly. This is usually the fastest way to get started. You can extend an existing table when you want to reuse standard ServiceNow fields and behavior while adding custom fields specific to your application. And you can create tables from scratch, right? When your application requires a fully custom data model with no dependence or existing tables. Choosing the right option early helps keep your data model clean, scalable, and easier to maintain. So, when building an application, not all tables serve to the same purpose. In ServiceNow, tables are usually organized in two types. Base tables store the main records of the application, like requests or transactions. Reference tables support those records by providing structured data used in lookups and relationships. This separation helps keep data organized, reusable, and easier to maintain. And remember, in ServiceNow, everything is a record in table, even forms, flows, and portals. So, when building an application, one of the most important decisions is choosing the right table strategy. In ServiceNow, you usually have two options: extend an existing table or create a new one, right? Extending a table means inheriting an existing table's structure and behavior. You automatically reuse its fields, business rules, UI policies, scripts, notifications, and scheduled jobs. This is useful when your application follows the same core behavior and data model of an existing table, and you just need to add a few specific fields or logic. Creating a new table, on the other hand, gives you a clean and isolated data model. This is the best option when your application has a unique purpose and should not inherit existing behaviors. The key is design whether your application should reuse existing behavior or start from scratch with full control. So this is the decision: extend or create a new table. So in short, if reuse and consistency are important, extend. If dampness and customization are required, create a new table. Right? So let's talk about field types. To ensure fields behave as expected in the user interface, it is important to choose the appropriate field type when adding them to a table. Without aiming to be exhaustive, here are some of the most common field types. String can be a simple text with up to 255 characters, or long text if it exceeds that limit. Date uses a calendar widget to select a date. integer, a number with no decimal places, true or false, a boolean field displayed as a checkbox, choice displays a configurable list of predefined options, reference display records from another table. As a general guideline, use choice fields for small, limited sets of values. For a large or more dynamic list, it's better to use reference fields and store the list values in a separate table. So every table in ServiceNow includes a set of standard fields that store meta information about each record. These fields are automatically managed by the platform and cannot be deleted. They track when a record was created or updated, who performed those actions, and uniquely identify each record using the sysID. Understanding these standard fields is important because they exist in every table and are often used for auditing, reporting, or troubleshooting. So, to meet business requirements, an application usually needs display rules, security rules, and behavior control. In App Engine, in ServiceNow, these capabilities are implemented through different rules applied to tables, forms, and records. App Engine Studio allows us to inspect and access these rules easily. First, we have white policies. White policies control whether fields are mandatory, visible, or editable based on conditions. They are mainly focused on the user interface, and this is the only type of rule can be created directly inside the App Engine Studio, right? Next, we have access control rules, also known as ACLs. ACLs define who can access a table or a specific field based on roles, conditions, and something scripts. They are critical for enforcing security in the platform. Then we have client scripts. These scripts run on the client side and are used to customize behavior when a form loads, when a field changes, or when a form is submitted. And finally, we have business rules. Business rules run on the server side and are used to modify field values or implement more complex behavior that must be enforced regardless of the user interface. Together, these rules define how data is displayed, secured, and processed inside a ServiceNow application. So we also can use different experiences in ServiceNow. When building an application uses App Engine Studio, you can choose between different user experience depending on how users will interact with your app. The first option is a standard catalog icon. This allows users to submit a request by filling out a form, and it also supports approvals and automated flows, right? It is ideal when users are requesting something, not directly managing records. The second option is record producer. A record producer lets users create a record in a table in a simplified way. Instead of showing all fields, you only expose the essential information needed to start the process. The portal experience provides a website like interface. It allows you to build pages, user reusable components, and offer more guided and user friendly experience for end users. The workspace is designed for agents and managers. It brings tools, data, and actions together into a single interface, helping users resolve cases and manage work more efficiently. Finally, there is the mobile experience. This allows user to interact with the application using mobile apps, make it easier to manage your request and process on the go. Choosing the right experience depends on who the user is and how they need to interact with the application. Other important tool is Flow Designers inside the ServiceNow. Flow Designer is a feature designed for process automation without requiring traditional coding. It provides a single interface where developers and process owners can create, run, and maintain automation flows. Another important aspect in the use of natural language and clear descriptions, which make flows easier to understand even for users without a strong technical background. Development cost, time, and risk are reduced because Flow Design offers a large library of reusable components built by ServiceNow. It also minimizes upgrade risks since you don't need to rely on complex scripts or automate process. And finally, as a developer, you can create, share, and reuse flows, subflows, and actions across multiple applications and projects. Flow design is built around four main components. The first one is the flow. A flow is automated process that starts with a trigger and then runs a sequence of actions whenever a condition is met. This is what automates business logic, like updating records, sending notifications, or requesting approvals. The second component is the subflow. Subflow is very similar to a flow, but it does not have a trigger. Instead, it's designed to be reused and executed from inside another flow, another subflow, or even a script. Next, we have actions. An action represents a reusable operation that performs a specific task. Actions allow you to automate functionality without writing code and reuse the same logic across multiple flows. Finally, we have spokes. A spoke is essentially a collection of action and subflows, usually grouped around a specific system, application, or set of tables. Together, these four components are what make flow design flexible, reusable, and powerful for process automation. Other important concept of the platform is users and groups. The ServiceNow users perform everyday actions like updating records, request items, approving content, running reports, and building applications. Groups are collection of users with a shared purpose. For example, Service Desk or knowledge base authors. Technically, users are stored in the sys user table, and groups are stored in the sys user group table. Other important concept is roles. In ServiceNow, our role is a set of permissions that controls access to applications and platform features. Roles can be assigned to users and groups, can include other roles, and a single user can have multiple roles. Technically, roles are stored in the sys user role table, right? This example shows role inheritance in ServiceNow, right? The catalog admin role contains other roles like user criteria admin or catalog. So it automatically inherits their permissions. That's how access to applications and modules is controlled across the platform. So finally, some useful links, logs, and community. These are two essential resources for ServiceNow developers. The ServiceNow community is where you learn from other users, ask questions, and share knowledge. And the official documentation is your main reference for features, configuration, and best practices. Make sure to bookmark both. Thank you very much for watching this episode. In this first part, we focused on building the right foundation and understanding how application development works in ServiceNow. The next episodes will move into hands-on part and start building applications step by step. See you in the next video.